Good morning, students of Year 7, and this is the part 2 of the first lesson, Introduction to the Forces. Introduction to Forces. So, today we will start talking about the forces, and the first force we will start about it is force of gravity or gravitational force. What is a gravitational force? Any any object has a mass any object has a mass, there is a force acting on this object named by gravitational force. Okay, so I will repeat. Any mass, any object, any real object has a mass. True. So any mass has a gravitational force. So there are different types of force. The gravitational force is a force that pulls all objects toward the earth. And to be specific, the gravitational force is a force that pulls all objects toward the center of the earth. How? I will explain. This is the girl. Okay? If she throw out the ball, in which direction the ball will fall? It will fall in that direction. That direction is toward the center of the earth. The center. The point that is at the center of the earth. The same as this man. He throw the ball is and it will fall toward the center of the earth. Okay? So now the tree, you all know the Newton's story, right? When the apple fall on the head of the Newton and blah blah blah. So the apple falls down onto the ground. So what makes the apple fall down? It's the force of gravity. It's about the gravity. This is Newton. He was scanning and then he feel the the apple. Okay. Now, another force called electrostatic force. What we are going to do, what we are going to do is, please try it at home. You can bring a plastic pencil or plastic pen, and you can rub this pen by your hair. Okay, rub it by your hair and cut the paper into small pieces. Okay, and after rubbing the pen, put the side that you rub it in front of the piece of paper, like in this video, and you will see that the paper will attract by this pen or by this plastic piece. So any plastic piece, if you rubber it using your hair or rubber it with using any piece of cloth, it will be charged. How it will be charged, I will explain later. Then if you put it, the piece of paper will be attracted to this plastic object. So if you rub a plastic comb against your hair, it becomes charged, positively charged or negatively charged, and can attract small pieces of paper with an electrostatic force. So when we have an electrostatic force, the electrostatic force exerts when a two charged object attract or repel. For example, charged object can attract or repel. If this object is positively charged, you see these positive signs, this a positive sign and this a negative sign. If we put a positive object near a negative object, they will repel each other. They will attract each other. Sorry, it's a mistake. It's a mistake. So, unlike sign, they will attract each other. Like sign, they will repel each other. I will repeat, guys, be careful. Unlike signs, positive charge and negative charge, they will attract each other. Like signs, for example, positive and positive, they will repel each other, and negative, they will repel each other. So this is the electrostatic force. You see, This is unlike objects, they attract. Let's see the like sign, what will happen? This is the positive and positive, they repel, and the negative and negative, they repel. You see? Now, what is the magnetic force? The magnetic force is a force that attract between, or that act between a magnet and a steel, a gold, a steel, an iron, and a nickel. So magnets attract magnetic materials such as iron, steel, or nickel with a magnetic force. So what is the magnetic force? Is a force done by the magnet when it attracts the iron or a steel, okay, or the nickel. So let's see which objects that attracted by magnets. So steel, iron, nickel, and cobalt. Why cobalt? Because it will attract at the middle. Magnets too can attract and repel. So also if we put two magnets in front of each other, the same rule. If these two poles, first of all, let's introduce a magnet. A magnet have two different poles. This is the first pole called the North Pole, and this is the second pole called the South Pole. So if we have south and south, so they are like poles, they will repel each other. If we have north north, they are like poles, they will repel each other. But if we put north and south, they are unlike poles, they will attract. What the meaning of like and unlike? Same or not same? Not the same. So south and south, they are the same, they will repel. North and north, they are the same, they will repel. South and north, they are not the same, they are different poles, so they will attract each other. So this is the magnetic force, electrostatic force, and gravitational force. The gravitational force exerted when there is a mass of an object. So any object, there is a force on it called gravitational force or force of gravity. Electrostatic, when the two objects are charged and then they will attract or repelled. It depends on the charge, if they are alike or they are unlike. And the magnet exerted when there is a magnet and a steel or iron or nickel or cobalt, they will attract these objects, and the magnets themselves, they will attract the different pole and they will repel same pole. So gravitational, electrostatic, and magnetic force are example of non-contact force. Why they are example of non-contact force, or we say they are forces acting from a distance? Because the gravitational force, it needs no contact between the object and another, and there is exerted a force with no contact. Also magnet, it will attract the object far away, so it's acting from a distance, it's non-contact force. Also the electrical charges or the electrostatic. So electrostatic, magnetism, and gravitational force, this is three, keep it in mind, they are non-contact force. Non-contact force act between objects that do not touch each other, they are not in contact. Now, the forces, they are two types: contact force and non-contact force, or at a distance force, acting from a distance. When two interacting objects are physically touching, they touch each other, okay, they are contact force. Example, friction, I will explain it later. Applied force, air resistance. This is a contact force. When two interacting objects are not touching, this is the non-contact force. When they are acting from a distance, gravity, magnetic force, electric force. Now, what is friction? Friction is an example of a contact force. It acts when objects slide across a surface. So, you have two conditions for a friction. First condition, that the object is in movement, and the second condition, that the object is with contact to the surface, with contact with the surface. For example, this object, okay, it's in motion. You see, it's in motion. Somebody is pushing this object, and this object is in contact with the surface, right? So there is a friction, and please keep it in mind that the direction of the force of friction is opposite to the motion. So if I ask you in the exam, what is the direction of a friction force? You will say it's opposite to the motion. If the motion is to the right, like in this picture, the friction is to the left. So I will repeat, please. What is a friction force? A friction force occurs between the surfaces of two objects, but one of them must be in motion. One of them must be in motion, or two of them, but now one of them is okay. When an object is in motion and its contact with the surface, okay, so there is a force of friction. Now what is the direction of this force of friction? Is opposite to the motion. So if the motion to the right, so the friction is to the left. So I will ask you a question now. What if this object is not moving? There is a force of friction? Of course not. There is no force of friction. Why? Because both the surface and the object on the surface are at rest. When the two objects are at rest, there is no friction. At least they must one of them, at least one of them in motion, so there is force of friction. How do you think friction helps us when we talk? When we walk, sorry. So let's see. Who will answer this question? I will repeat. How do you think friction helps us when we walk? Let's see. Please answer this question, and let us discuss it below the video by using the comment. Thank you so much.